Ew.
What is good, everybody? Welcome to, I guess we could call it Smackdown 1999, episode 1 here on for the Recollection series. So I'm excited. I really we're gonna dig deep into the vault, going back to actually my buddy's first birthday, April 29th, 1999.
Yeah, I looked it up. I literally looked it up on Peacock, and one thing that really caught my attention was that the very first episode of SmackDown was on my first freaking birthday. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But the thing is, but it was also the unofficial first episode, because the first that was episode 0 that we watched.
Yeah.
That was just a pilot to see if everything would work. Obviously, it's worked for like 21 years. It's worked.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do have the match card pulled up on the side of my computer.
Or actually 22 years. 22.
Okay. Yeah, 20. Actually, let me get...
For 22 years, this show was worked.
Yeah.
On TV. So the pilot episode was a success.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Nights. I appreciate you hopping into the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Nightings. Want to read over the match card?
So the first match we have on... first match card we have is the Blue Blazer versus Val Venus with Jeff Jarrett and Deborah in the Blazer corner.
Hold on, bud. Hold on, we're missing a segment. The first segment was the corporation was in the ring.
Right.
Or no, it was Vince and Stephanie in the ring, because they were talking about that the week prior where the Undertaker hung Stephanie on a fucking crucifix.
Pretty much, yeah.
And they were recapping that, and then next thing you know, the corporation comes out. They start dissing Vince and Stephanie. Then they were talking shit about Stone Cold, and yeah,
all that.
But yeah, we got the Blue Blazer and Val Venus.
Oh,
not a bad match. Not
a bad match, but
it stings watching it back, knowing the circumstances that would happen months after this.
I was like, it makes you, even like looking back, it's like, and look what it got me goosebumps. Like, fuck, man.
When I heard him cutting a promo, running to the ring in the Blue Blazer, saying, I'm like, this is the beginning of the end, isn't it? And it was the beginning of the end, because a few months later he would die.
It's
in that gimmick.
Because obviously Blue Blazer had Jeff Jarrett and Deborah in his corner, taking on Val Venus.
And Val Venus was trying to get with Deborah the entire time. Deborah was distracting him, and
I tell you, yeah. Even that's part of that was Val Venus gimmick back in the Attitude Era too.
Yeah, he was a porn star. That was his gimmick. He was a horny porn star.
But all in all, the Blue Blazer does get the win over Val Venus.
Via a wonky finish where Jeff Jarrett would interfere.
Oh yeah, and that's another too. We forgot to mention too. Like this, since it was the unofficial, like they didn't when people were thinking about SmackDown, it's the blue ropes back then.
Yeah, well, if you think SmackDown, you're thinking blue ropes. You're thinking the Ovaltron. Or the official first episode had it. The unofficial episode, you would watch it back. If you didn't see the blue hue from the lights,
it's like
screaming SmackDown, you would think it was another episode of Raw.
Pretty much, but like Tyler said here, I mean, it was it was technically the pilot. Not that I mentioned that.
It was just a test episode. It wasn't really the official thing.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think this was Rock's idea that actually had another show back in the day.
Yeah, but Rock wanted it to be all women.
Oh, right.
But that fell through, and WWE said no. Because at that time, the women weren't really legitimate wrestlers at that time. They were still sexual acts.
And they're right.
So having all the women in there and doing sexual acts for 2 hours straight, that wasn't gonna work.
And I think, I mean, I know this is going to sound bad, but I think WWE at the time actually made the right move and not go on and actually kind of change up a few things.
It was like,
ooh,
if they were going to keep doing the whole women or sexual objects thing,
it was not gonna get off the
They
ground.
weren't gonna do that for 2 hours fucking straight.
No, so especially when you're catering, because I think at the time you're still catering the kids into a mature audience at the time in the 90s.
They weren't really catering to kids.
Or mostly like young teens at the time. But other than that,
at that point, the Attitude Era was more of like they were catering to teenagers, to young adults. They were not catering to kids at all.
But the next
kids did watch it, which I don't know why, but they did watch it.
Yep. I can. But yeah. I hold my hand up to that, so I got away with it. But
yeah, you really got away with it. You're like 2.
I got away with it in the late 90s.
You were 2,
bro. But other than that, next match on the card we got is the Big Show versus Test.
And this was culminating with and this was a face versus face match.
Which I'll be honest, I was weird. I had a weird feeling. It's like, really, 2 faces going at it?
I feel like they were pinned against each other. I was assuming, okay, maybe the week before they were pinned against each other, but it wasn't the case.
No.
Both were feuding. Both Test and Big Show were feuding with Big Boss Man as faces, and yet you had them go against each other,
which doesn't make any sense because usually it's always the face and the heel going against each other.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: you can have face versus face, but the thing is, the story can call for it. It has to make sense in a way. It didn't make sense at all for Test and Big Show to just bite each other.
And despite and both are feuding with the Big Boss Man at the time. You know,
and then after the fact, we seen Big Show save Test from getting beaten by Big Boss Man, and then later in the show we see Test coming in to save Big Show from getting beat up by Big Boss Man. So the match was negated at the end.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like what I was like, but like we said too, like this was an unofficial test episode, so thank God that I didn't make to the official first episode. But we got D'Lo Brown who has Ivory in his corner with Draws with Prince Albert in his corner.
This was another moment where a bad taste was in my mouth.
How so?
Because this was the beginning of the end of Draws.
Oh, right.
Because during an episode of SmackDown that year, he would have gotten paralyzed.
I think he broke his neck or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. It serves me right.
D'Lo went for his sit-down powerbomb, and he overshot it to where Draws would hit the top of his head.
Let me take care of that really quick.
Nah, that's all good, man. But yeah, he would get powerbombed, and he would hit the top of his head, paralyzing him and putting him out of business.
Yeah. But obviously it looks like, and then D'Lo gets the win over Draws. But it was that match only lasted 3 minutes 16 seconds. With that match,
it really didn't matter, honestly.
We got to think too, like they were still testing things out before. Oh, for the love of God!
Yeah, we're getting a lot of spam shit.
We got a lot of bots coming.
Got a lot of bots.
Apologies about that.
It's all good,
typical live streaming, but yeah, think about this too. Like we said too, like there's some matches that probably wouldn't make sense later down the card. I know a lot of things too, because I think too, like this was how can I describe this unofficial? Like kind of like think of it like a TV show, like when before they started shooting, like it's kind of how I see it. They're trying to what works, what doesn't, kind of it's like that kind of thing. But next match on the card, we have X-Pac and Kane, who were the tag champs, against the New Age Outlaws.
And the build to this match is that X-Pac and Kane have dissension going on.
Which
that they showed the week prior where Kane would chokeslam X-Pac twice. Once through the barricade, over the barricade, and once in the ring when X-Pac came back to confront him. So there's obvious dissension there. And then there's obvious dissension between DX going on.
Yeah, especially with the New Age Outlaws too, because it's like the thing is that why did X? It kind of gives me the idea like X-Pac kind of turned his back on DX and tag it with King for some reason. Tag it with King. That's kind of what I was getting out of it.
But then, if you saw the rest of this storyline play out, it was a ruse because X-Pac would turn on Kane after this.
Yeah,
it was a ruse. Kane's kicked out of DX. So
what we could have gotten with the Kane in his green bodysuit at the back then, but then again that never happened. So, unfortunately,
no one liked it, dude. No one liked that.
Thank God it didn't happen. So I mean, but all in all, like X-Pac and Kane get the win to retain their tag titles. I think that so far that's the longest match we've seen at 7 minutes even.
And it was a really good match, very fast pace. X-Pac would get the pin.
Yeah, on the most unorthodox way.
Yeah, in the weirdest way possible. But yeah.
And I'm thinking this too, like 20 years, seeing what Kane in his prime looked like an actual monster in his prime.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we all know how that turned out to be. Mm-hmm. Next match on the card, we have Ken Shamrock versus Bradshaw in a no-holds-barred street fight.
They did not pull any punches with this match.
So,
they both kicked each other's ass. I think it ended in a DQ, if I remember.
No, this is like there was no disqualification.
Oh no! Yeah, that's right.
It was a submission.
It was a street fight. Ken Shamrock would. Oh yeah, because Ken Shamrock would have Bradshaw in a headlock maneuver
with the baseball bat in his hands,
and he would just hold on to it even after the bell
choke him out.
Had like 10 different fucking refs come in, and yeah.
And that's the thing too. If you guys have not seen and you think Bradshaw the way that he looked 20 years ago, that's not the Bradshaw that most people would know. That's like, yeah. I mean, have you really? When you think about it, and I didn't know that either. And looking back at it, almost like 20 years. Ken Shamrock still probably, which is crazy. He's still going at it. What, in his 50s now, give or take.
I mean, he was going at it, but I don't know if he's still going at it.
I don't think so. But
he had like a weird, like minor stint in Impact, and then he just like left.
But yeah, so Ken Shamrock, like we say, gets the win via like a chokehold submission. That actually went 4 minutes and 5 seconds for a street fight.
That was like a very fast match. Like they were building this up for like most of the show. To only go 4 minutes, no.
Yeah. Because even with this, because you got to think too, like they also had like a feuding storyline that boiled over from like the weeks prior as well. So I mean, which makes sense, but really 4 minutes, man. But that's here nor there. And we got Mankind versus the Big Boss Man. It was the next match on the card.
I liked the match. Was really fun, honestly. I liked how Mankind had the sock. Good
like old Mr. Sock. Mr. Socko.
It wasn't Mr. Socko.
Oh, not yet.
Another sock that looked like him. You never really officially said that was Mr. Socko. It was just a sock.
Yeah, I mean,
but Mankind will get the win.
Yeah, with over a minute and a half, though.
Yeah, it was another short match. I didn't get why it was that. These matches were short.
I mean, the shortest one was Test and Big Show at 47 seconds.
Yeah, because it ended in a DQ. Because Big Boss Man interfered. But that's the thing. And I look at SmackDown now, watch an episode of SmackDown now, and watch the first episode of SmackDown, like the unofficial pilot episode, and you will see how fast compared to today it was.
Yeah,
like it was fast. Like I got through it in like an hour, not even an hour.
Because I think we also had a couple segments too after that Mankind match, if I'm not mistaken, too.
There was like a couple segments, but they weren't really
that much of importance.
Yeah.
But the last we go to like the quote unquote main event, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock teaming against the corporate ministry.
Really good match. It was kind of like WrestleMania 20, the one match with Rock in it and dealing with the McMahons.
Yeah.
It just progressively got crazier and crazier and crazier.
Yeah.
With the end being, this
just pretty much out of control.
Fucking out of control. Stone Cold stunning everybody. Stunning Vince. Stunning Shane. It was like,
typical his typical NC Authority kind of character.
Yeah, he was just stunning everybody to end the show, and it was crazy.
But Stone Cold and The Rock do pick up the win over the corporate ministry, which was the Undertaker and Triple H. I gotta be honest, man. The Ministry Undertaker was the fucking shit back in the 90s.
Oh my, that fucking theme. That fucking theme, bro.
Like it puts fear. It
was like, to me, that theme was awesome because it was like rock heavy.
Yeah.
But it screamed Undertaker. I'm like, yo, this is badass.
Yeah. And think about it this way too. Like the Ministry, like, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably one of the best factions that I've seen growing up as a wrestling fan.
And on this episode, we see the birth of the growth of that faction.
Yeah, for a good.
We have now, after this episode, the corporate ministry is born.
Yeah,
corporation and the ministry merged.
And the fact that it's like, gosh, see, it's weird though. Like, even though we don't know what The Rock looks like nowadays, but 25 years later, almost like 20, see him in his prime.
I look at Rock from like 2003, and I'm like, he had hair.
Like literally, like the hair and his iconic long sideburns, like that, kind of like a.
This man looked like Elvis and shit. With the long ass sideburns. I'm like,
yeah, like he's like the Miami version of Elvis.
But the thing is, it worked for him because in real life he's an Elvis guy.
Yeah, that's true.
So it worked for him. now he works with the baldness. And I'm like, yeah,
okay, but yeah,
and also, not only does he not have hair anymore, that dude's fucking ginormous now.
He's bigger than he once was.
Dude's buff as shit now. Like, what the fuck?
God, it's like, it's weird though. Now we got to see China in her prime. Back, God rest her soul. God, Stephanie in her 20s, man, she was something different.
To me, I'm like, she's innocent, but not really.
Yeah, she's like on that verge of like PG.
She was like, back then her character was innocent, but not really innocent. And nowadays she's like, I'm embracing that badass.
Pretty much. And then Shane was still in this prime, but like you said, he was like showing gray hairs a little bit. He was starting to show age.
No, not then. Not then. Nowadays he's got gray hair, no fucking doubt.
Yeah.
But his face looks the same. Everything looks the same. I think
he's got a little bit bigger too over time.
You got a little bit fatter.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's it. He only got a little bit fatter, and he got gray hair.
And that's the thing too. Like,
Stephanie looks the fucking same.
I mean, the only one I think changed over the time with Triple H, because we all knew that
man embraces. That man's like, fuck it, I'm looking like Kratos from God of fucking War.
And that's the thing too. It's like, even looking at this first unofficial episode, like the set was so simple. Like there was nothing flashy to it.
Basically, it was the Raw set. It was the Raw set.
Yeah, the Raw set was pretty much simple.
And then when they really had their first episode, the official episode, they had the Ovaltron for like 3 years, and then they went with the Fist stage from 2001 to 2008.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we'll probably. It was good, but it wasn't great. But I think
to me, I think the show was good for a pilot. It was good for a test, and the test passed.
Yeah,
and clearly, because look, 23 years later after the fact, it's 23 years later after the fact.
It's still probably one of the
it's on TV still. It's on TV.
No, yeah,
and they've been doing very well for themselves over the last 20 years, except for the last few months. But I digress.
Well, yeah, that's the only digression. But I mean, I mean, what could have? I mean, and this is the thing too. I've never seen like wrestlers back then who had their lives cut very short.
Yeah, like guys like Test, Big
Oh,
Boss Man,
yeah.
China,
The Blue Blazer really hit me hard.
Blue
The hardest.
Blazer. Blue Blazer. The thing with
Oof.
Blue Blazer was that was avoidable completely.
Yeah.
Also, you could also make a case for China that was unavoidable too,
Yeah.
but Blue Blazer
Oof. That
felt like
just
it felt like to me it was murder.
like it's like
To me, it felt like a fucking murder the way that went down.
yeah, and
Like you have
unfortunately,
a guy, you make a guy do something that he didn't really want to do, that he didn't really feel safe with,
and he had the
and
entire
then
locker.
he goes and does it reluctantly, and then he dies.
And think about this too. I mean, the locker room did not like the way what was going. They were trying to stop that.
They were trying to stop it, and everybody was pushing for the show to get stopped. No, Vince kept on going with it.
Actually, I heard somebody, I don't know who it was, but someone said that Vince Russo is the guy who killed Owen Hart.
It wasn't Vince Russo.
I was like,
It was
there's no way.
it was McMahon. It was McMahon.
I said, hey, you got to think too.
Why do you think his wife went to AEW for a fucking tournament instead of WWE?
That's true as well. I mean, and like Test, like he was not even what 33, 34 at the time.
Yeah, he was in his 30s. I think he was going. It was like right after his second stint with WWE, because he returned in like 2007 for ECW, and then he left then he left in 2009 for TNA. Had like a few shows in TNA and then died.
And it's just like he was not even 40 by the time he passed.
Not even. I think he was 39 when he died.
Yeah, almost. He was short of 40. It's just like, I mean, it's there's some wrestlers that you like watching growing up, especially Owen Hart for me in any other ways, because that was an absolute gut punch. I was like, what the fuck, man? I was like literally, it made me shiver to my core just seeing him almost 20 years ago. And just like, I don't know. It's just like, it was a weird feeling. I was like, shit, this is going to be like, hopefully going to be like the last time I ever see Owen alive as a kid, because Owen was spectacular in the ring as a kid when I was watching him as a kid. Test, and that's the thing. I mean, Test looked a lot different in the 99 in that very first unofficial episode, though. That was weird.
Well, Test, he had long hair for a while, and then like 2003 he cut it off.
Oh, right, we forgot to touch about the stinking or the interview with the Brood in the middle of the ring. Oh my god, that cringed the living crap out of me.
I'd rather not talk about it, but whatever.
Thank God Edge got out of it. Well, I mean,
Gangrel, he brushed through his promo, and then Edge had a cringy ass fucking promo, and I was like, oh, why? Like, he's great as a heel. Don't get me wrong, but you give him a dark fucking character.
Yeah,
he made it can't come off as fucking cringe, bro. Like, it was like
it's like something like a cheesy horror movie, pretty much. That's kind of how he's putting it. But then again, if you look at that years later, like thank God he got out of that, because if that stuck around for a long, we wouldn't know that he rated our superstar. Well, that'll be on another time as well. But
let's just get through this.
Overall, I'm going to give this a B, just for being a decent unofficial episode, like a good test pilot. And like Tyler said, man, this thing passed.
Yeah, I'll have to give this one a B plus. There were some things I would change about it, but overall, wasn't a bad show.
No, it wasn't.
In any stretch of imagination, it wasn't really that bad.
The only thing that I think it did change is that the matches were longer after that. They had a lot of, and also with that, you had a lot of good segments. Yeah, a lot of good storylines that came out of SmackDown, especially in its early days, in its heyday.
And even like when it was going into that Ruthless Aggression era. Even in the Ruthless Aggression era,
there were some great storylines.
Great storylines. PG era, they had some good storylines, but I don't really think they had a lot.
Not really, but we'll talk more.
Other than Taker and Shawn, less like 2009, 2010, but that's it.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, you had Bray Wyatt and Randy, but other.
And if I'm not mistaken, and because we don't want to really kind of jump the gun here, but we'll take these these SmackDown ones week by week,
Yeah, if you want us to do that again for SmackDown, do a week by week basis of SmackDown, we'll do that. We could do the
Raw.
Official
don't even
Raw. Anything past 1993, no, from
95.
From 95, or actually from 96 on.
Yeah, actually, 96 was the best year from Raw. If I'm not
from 96 on, or no, actually 97 on, because 97 is when Raw started going up.
That's when it was going edgy,
and that was when it was going edgy as hell, and that's when storylines were getting better and everything, because of course WCW and everything.
Yeah, obviously. For those who don't remember, it was the Monday Night Wars back in the 90s. That was pretty much the big, I guess you could say, the era of wrestling during that time. But
it was the biggest era of wrestling. It's still talked about to this day.
Because kind of really wrap this up. But the Monday Night Wars, if you have not lived through it like myself, it was hard because both shows were good in 97. Late 97, early 98, because 97 at times, because there were some good shows on both. At times, I actually did switch to WWE more later down the between 98 and 99, because which is weird because I've understood. I mean, as a kid, you really don't understand much, but I understood, the kind of quality of a show that WCW was between 99 and 2000. I was like, oh, good Lord. So I pretty much been to WWE, had from late 97, maybe to the mid 2000s. Probably even get slightly into the PG era, but that's a whole other thing.
For me, I feel like I started watching wrestling in 2002. So I was 4 when I started, but I was more right in the WWE. I wasn't dipping my toe in the WWE at all. I was diving into that bitch.
In other words, he's jumping into the deep end.
I just jumped into the deep end there, and I didn't watch any other wrestling company until about 05, 06 when TNA was was on TV. This was after they did the annual pay-per-views to test it out and see if people liked the company. This was when they got to Spike TV. Started watching TNA.
Oh God, Spike TV! I haven't heard that TV channel in fucking years.
Yeah, I gave you guys a history lesson. There was a network named Spike TV that lasted till about.
Out of the wrestling shows, we had shows another one I used to watch. It was a little bit edgy back then. It's called 1,000 Ways to Die. Does everybody?
That wasn't a wrestling show. That was not a wrestling show.
Well, no, I said edgy.
Oh no, I think you said wrestling show. I'm like, that ain't no wrestling show.
Well, Impact, yes, goes on Spike TV or TNA. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, at that time, I think they still had a partnership with NWA at the time. No, they had
the NWA. They were still having the NWA world title as their main title, the NWA tag titles as their tag titles. I don't think they had the women's title yet.
I don't think so.
Because there was no women's division until about 2007.
I was going to say 07, 08. Because it's because they called it the Knockouts division between 07 and 08.
Yeah, that was when they weren't really. That was when they ended their partnership with NWA. Outright.
Yeah, and
they had the TNA title and Knockouts title and all of their stuff.
But
then in 2012, I had fallen out of wrestling. Stopped watching wrestling. Came back to it in 2016. Again, when I came back in 2016, full head first in WWE.
Yeah.
And then I just watched TNA again, and then I watched Ring of Honor, Rest in peace.
And
then here we are.
Yeah.
And I'm with AEW.
But overall, I mean, it was a really good test pilot for SmackDown.
It was.
Like we said, we're going to start doing SmackDown on a weekly basis, and we'll get back to more others too, like Lucha Underground, Nitro, occasionally. What's the other one? Shit, I'm losing the train of thought here. Oh, Thunder. Whenever we get a chance, when we get past that, when we get done Nitro, because
there's a lot of storylines that leak over into Nitro, and we're not there yet. So
so bear with us on that. So we'll try. Trust me, we'll keep hammering you guys with fresh new content.
And I want to apologize. I don't even think we did a podcast episode.
Oh shit!
In a while.
What's today? Because our podcast is coming up this week.
No, we didn't do it last week.
Oh yeah, right.
So we're sorry that we didn't have a podcast episode last week. We just fucking forgot. Our brains are like really wired.
And we had to keep rescheduling a lot of stuff.
Off, sometimes it's on. It's like,
yeah.
So there will be times where we don't have podcast episodes, and it hurts our numbers. But
yeah, I mean, in other words, it's like I said, we'll start doing SmackDown on a weekly basis. Go through one episode at a time. We'll finish up Nitro for you guys, and then once we finish Nitro, we'll get started onto Thunder. If you have not watched Nitro, so some of these you will not understand, because like Tyler said, a lot of the storylines coming from Nitro will pour into Thunder. By the way, Thunder was as a good secondary show back then for WCW. Not gonna lie, set was great.
Which is a reason why SmackDown exists.
Think about it this way. I know this may sound weird, but I think Thunder was WCW's version of SmackDown, but before SmackDown was a thing in the early 90s. So that's a little something for you guys. But like we said, we got a lot more stuff in store for you guys. We do apologize for the kind of, brain's not functioning the way that it should be, rescheduling. We're going to give you guys, so we're giving you guys a podcast episode this week, and then next Tuesday, you'll see in probably another episode of the Recollection here on the channel. But any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Nope.
I got none either. But also, huge shout out to everybody who subscribed to here on the Astronomy channel and the Philly Sports Talk podcast. We're almost at 260 subscribers, two subs away from there. That's a huge milestone in itself. And you're pretty much guys are amazing. These channels would not be here where they are today. No matter despite how hard we're trying to work, especially how my schedule is, on the other side of things. But huge thank you to those who stuck around and had it subscribed to our wrestling channel and the sports channel, both. But other than that, this is myself, Robert. There's a little blooper for you guys. I almost called myself Tyler. But other than that, we are pretty much out of the building.
Yep.
Peace out.
Peace.